In total, there were over 400 drone strikes and more than 40 missiles, including ballistic missiles, in one night. With this strike, the Russians damaged residential buildings in Kyiv, ordinary urban infrastructure. In Lutsk-Volyn, they destroyed in particular an ordinary hotel in which Ukrainian athletes were staying. In other regions, there is damage, unfortunately, to both residential infrastructure and energy infrastructure, industrial enterprises. The Russians even burned down another warehouse with humanitarian aid. The most important thing we can achieve together is to end the war with a decent peace and create reliable security guarantees for Ukraine and for all of Europe, so that no one in Europe is afraid of being left without protection. We can do it. Please support all efforts for the completely fair pressure on Russia. Support diplomacy, political and economic pressure. Please call for new and effective sanctions against Russia, their regime, to stop the killings, to stop the strikes, to achieve real peace, to make sure that Russia's responsibility for the war is truly felt.
US President Donald Trump let Putin continue his war and delays new sanctions against Russia. Elon Musk began a full-scale attack on Trump's administration. Meanwhile, the US deploys National Guard to Los Angeles. So how does Trump help Putin to avoid sanctions against Russia, and what are the main reasons behind Trump's unwillingness to inflict pain on Putin? The Trump administration is urging Republican Senator Lindsey Graham to reconsider the sanctions outlined in a supported Senate bill targeting Russia, as reported by the Wall Street Journal. White House representatives have reached out to Graham's office, pressing him to amend the bill provisions on sanctions against Russia. Among the White House proposals is a significant allowance for the US president to have the sole discretion to determine whom or what should face sanctions. Additionally, White House has suggested a notable linguistic change, replacing the mandatory term shall with the more permissive may, which would effectively eliminate the enforcement of sanctions and would weaken the bill. Graham's team has voiced strong criticism, arguing that this shift would render the bill ineffective and compromise its purpose. They pointed out that Trump already possesses the authority to impose sanctions as he sees fit. In an impressive bipartisan effort, Senators Richard Blumenthal and Lindsey Graham, alongside with 80 co-sponsors, have put a bill aimed at imposing sanctions on Russia for its refusal to agree to a ceasefire. This ambitious bill includes a 500% tariff on goods imported from nations that purchase Russian oil. The push for these sanctions enjoys support in the House and Senate. Meanwhile, White House spokeswoman Caroline Leavitt has assured the public that Trump will ultimately make the final call regarding any sanctions on Russia, but on himself. Additionally, according to the Washington Post columnist Mark Thiessen, only this sanctions bill could help Trump to end the war. Additionally, Trump has shared this article on his social media. The Washington Post reports that Trump urgently needs to increase his leverage over Putin, and Congress has a powerful opportunity to do so. This crucial bipartisan effort, led by the senators Lindsey Graham and also Tom Cotton, seeks to enact this leverage and sanctions that could fundamentally change the game. Right now, Russia is grappling with double-digit inflation, soaring interest rates, and crippling labor shortages. The only lifeline keeping its economy afloat is oil revenue. The proposed legislation aims to sever this essential financial artery for the Kremlin by prohibiting energy transactions with sanctioned Russian banks, something that President Biden did not allow to continue. Furthermore, it would impose a 500% tariffs on any nation that dares to purchase Russian oil, uranium, natural gas, petroleum, or other products. By endorsing this bill, Trump would gain unprecedented power to eliminate Russian energy sales around the globe. This move could not only cripple Russian economy, but also cut off the funds that enable Putin's aggression against Ukraine. The time for decisive action is now, according to the article, and this bill could be the key for reshaping the balance of power. Also, signing the bill does not mean Trump has to implement it immediately. The proposed sanctions take effect only after the president issues a formal determination, such as in case of refusing Putin to negotiate a peace agreement with Ukraine. If Trump uncomfortable making this determination, according to the Washington Post, he has another option. He can wait to sign the bill after Congress approves it. Once a bill reaches the president, he is granted a window of just 10 days to either sign it or issue a veto. However, Congress is under no obligation to forward or pass bill to him. Once a bill garners approval from both House and Senate Majority Leader has the authority to keep it at his desk indefinitely, effectively granting Trump as much time as he desires before taking actions. There is a historical precedent. In 1998, both chambers of Congress endorsed legislation championed by Senator J.D. Helms that aimed to settle U.S. arrears to the United Nations in exchange of reforms. President Bill Clinton, however, threatened to veto the bill over some minor pro-life provisions. In a strategic play, Helms withheld the bill, attempting to sway Clinton's decision. When Clinton stood firm, Helms sent the bill to him at a calculated moment, the very day he was addressing the UN General Assembly. Putin could utilize the same strategic approach with the Russian sanctions bill once it passes through both House and Senate. By holding it back and choosing the perfect moment to do so, he would dramatically enhance Trump's leverage over Vladimir Putin. And this tactic would arm Trump with a potential tool to pressure Russia by bipartisan majority in Congress. It not only empowers Trump, but also fortifies his negotiating position, allowing him to threaten sanctions against Russia. Moreover, it signals a united political front, according to the Washington Post, showcasing unwavering support against aggression. The passage of the bill would clarify Putin's decision either to agree to a peace or face severe sanctions against the Russian economy, which is already struggling. The proposed sanctions legislation could incite countries like China and India to urge Putin towards peace. Congress might enhance Trump's leverage by allowing the sale of U.S. weapons to Ukraine through foreign military financing loans, which could generate profits. Additionally, Congress could authorize the use of frozen Russian assets to purchase U.S. weapons for Ukraine, according to this publication of the Washington Post. This will arm Trump and improve his position. Currently, Putin seems to believe that he can avoid consequences by stalling negotiations. To change this perception, a bill approving these sanctions would demonstrate Putin that rejecting peace is not an option. While Trump has aimed for a voluntary resolution of conflict, it's clear that Putin needs coercion. A bipartisan majority in Congress is ready to support Trump in this effort. He just needs to take the initiative. Meanwhile, President Donald Trump deployed the National Guard to Los Angeles. When asked about deploying U.S. troops to the city, he said, quote, "We are gonna have troops everywhere. We won't allow our country to be torn apart like it was under Biden." Trump also indicated that California officials' impending deportations could face consequences, referring to a Wisconsin judge arrested for allegedly helping a man evade immigration authorities. In a significant conversation, Governor Gavin Newsom spoke with Trump for about 40 minutes. He threatened to sue Trump over illegal actions. And on the same day, Los Angeles faced National Guard deploying tear gas against the growing crowd outside the federal complex. As a result of Trump's orders, the confrontation occurred in front of Metropolitan Detention Center.
California, are you prepared to invoke the Insurrection Act?
Depends on whether or not there's an insurrection. No, but you have violent people, and we're not going to let them get away with it.
What is the purpose of your meetings at Camp David in the next 24 hours?
We're going up to Camp David. We have meetings with various people about very major subjects. So we thought we'd do it at Camp David. There's probably better security there than any place. We'll be meeting with a lot of people, including generals, as you know, and admirals. No. So we'll be meeting with military people and others.
Will there be any foreign visitors at Camp David?
Even if you don't plan to invoke the Insurrection Act, do you plan to send troops to Los Angeles?
What?
Even if you're not planning to invoke the Insurrection Act, do you still plan to send troops?
Well, we're going to have troops everywhere. We're not going to let this happen to our country. We're not going to let our country be torn apart like it was under Biden and his auto pen.
What is the bar bar for sending Marines to
The bar
different
is
cities?
what I think it is. I mean, if we see danger to our country and to our citizens, we'll be very, very strong in terms of law and order. It's about law and order.
Sending active duty Marines on the table, sir. Secretary Hegseth.
We're going to see what we need. We'll send whatever we need to make sure there's law and order.
Mr. President, do you foresee those protests spreading to other cities, Chicago, New York, for example, in the next few days?
Yes, we're going to be watching it very closely. And when they spit at people, you know, they spit. That's their new thing. They spit, and worse, you know what they throw at them, right? And when that happens, I have a little statement. They say, they spit, we hit. And I told them, nobody's going to spit on our police officers. Nobody's going to spit on our military, which they do as a common thing. They get up to them this far away and then they start spitting in their face. That happens, they get hit very hard.
Meanwhile, President Trump was disheartened after his falling out with Elon Musk, sparked by Musk's public attacks and calls for his impeachment. As Trump tried to understand Musk's behavior, he referred to him as a big-time drug addict, referencing to Musk's acknowledged use of prescribed ketamine. Reports of Musk's excessive drug use contributed to the rift. Despite his usual tendency to respond, Trump was more restrained regarding Musk, advising caution to his team. Tensions had been brewing long before the Republic rift, as Musk's controversial tactics led clashes with key administration officials. Although initially a valued ally, Musk's aggressive approach strategies created friction within the administration. His attempt to cut federal grants and eliminate bureaucratic positions made him a target for political opponents, leading to a protest demanding no one voted for Musk. After a significant loss in Wisconsin, Republicans began to view Musk as a liability. Also, Musk expressed growing dissatisfaction with Trump's economic policies after the introduction of new tariffs. As the relationship deteriorated, both sides faced pressures that signaled a significant fracture in their once strong alliance. That's all for today. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, and glory to